Hey guys, this is JTQ9 of SSX-1, and welcome back to the channel. Season 33, War Number 1. Let's get going. Dolphins versus, Savage Squad versus TCN, Toxic Nullified, in a massive first war matchup. 3261 Savage Squad versus 3304 Toxic Nullified. These guys, well, let's just say every one of their profiles has at least 4R4s, where I'm still struggling to work on my second one. So just to put in perspective. But had a good war this time. We got 6 fights, 6 tough fights, bringing in a new champ for the first time being used in war with my thing, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. A couple of the fights you've seen me take historically, so this penny on the hazard shift I've taken more than once, as you'll see in a lot of my other war videos. So I've decided to speed it up. You know, the strategy here is basically keep an active count of the timer of his strike count, and then punish with the S1, and that way you can control the hit count, but also be never really ever, well, it's mostly primarily to make sure that you're paying attention to the hit count. SP1 will do a decent amount of damage. The SP2, because he's incinerate immune, will do basically no damage. I think at one point I may have even pushed to an SP2 and will end up throwing it, just from the way the combos were matching up, and he was maybe being a little stingy. I don't remember off the top of my head, but all to say is that this fight I have taken numerous times, and yeah, as you can see, the SP2 I just threw did very little damage, which is why I like to stay with the SP1. I've taken this numerous times. Said the only thing you really have to worry about, other than getting hit in the face, is to make sure you don't get that debuff on you, which I do there. Fortunately, it was for just a brief amount of time, and just like that, the fight is over. Fight number 2, Weapon X, taken this fight also a number of times. In my previous war video against Noon, you saw that I got a little bit cornered because the AI wasn't cooperating. Basically, this fight was probably the best I could do with it. Strategy here is to push him, well, to get myself over a bar of power, throw the SP1 once he's about to cross the threshold. Just that way I can get the double the Spidey charges, build back up to an SP2, and throw it. You'll have to be very, very careful at this point to not get clipped, because his bleed does a lot of damage. At the same time, I want him to throw the special before throwing a thing, because he will go unblockable and get the unstoppable as well. So here I had to intercept to try to build power. Fortunately, with the so there's the SP1 as he's going over. I'm up to 10 Spidey charges. And at this point, fortunately, in this particular situation, he's on the power focus 1, which allows him to gain more power, which actually makes the fight a little bit easier. Because if he's throwing specials and I just have to evade it, it means I don't have to intercept when he's unblockable. I could have let the charges run out, but I was very, very comfortable in this, and he's very aggressive. And as you could see, I built to the SP2, and he was done. So that was a pretty easy one to, well, easy. It was nice when it goes that well. This is the first time I think I've taken the Mixed Master node in a couple seasons now. With this one, I think it's a pretty straightforward fight from memory, Power Focus 1. The idea here was, I think I used an advanced power boost just to get the SP1 so I can throw, to get my aura up in case I miss evading a special. But also to remove his fury, which allows me to intercept him if I needed to. So I did that just to get it off. I have the stagger on, so when it pops back up, it'll also feed the MD. From memory, my strategy here was basically to go to an SP3, seeing as Nova takes significantly less damage when you throw an unblockable special. I mean, it'll still do some damage because just it's an R4 Doom kind of hitting at you, but other than that, it's you want to kind of stick to the SP3 unless you need to get like nullify his fury and throw the SP1. But that was kind of the strategy here. Again, I've accelerated the fight a little bit just because it's a little bit longer, especially accelerating through his specials just to, you know, not bore you with it, because we've all seen Doom's S3 enough times. So in this one, again, just trying to evade the SP1s, not really taking damage. I probably could have blocked it too. Doom's such a tank that it wouldn't have really done anything. And then it's just a pretty straightforward fight at this point. I think a couple times I forgot it was Mixed Master where I was trying to get additional hits in. But again, I was never really at risk of having any trouble, especially with the high block proficiency of Doom, and then SP2 there would just kind of finish him off, even though it did very little damage, comparatively speaking, if I were to throw it against someone else. So yeah, that was the first 3 fights done pretty quickly. This one here, the next one, I'm going to take this Nick Fury. It's got kinetics transference. Strategy is make sure you have a stagger up. Throw the SP3 close to when he's about to go into a second life, and then that way you can kind of Doom cycle back just before it's building to that SP2, and then when the second life activates, you throw the SP2 and it's done. This one, unfortunately, didn't go quite to plan. Although I didn't die, it was a lot more sketchy than I would have liked it to have been. I fast-forwarded this to kind of closer to a second life, because up to this point, I wouldn't have really lost very much damage. I was just playing cautious. Obviously, he's got the unblockable that's up right now. And at this point, you can still parry and, get this parry heavy, get the staggers on. At that point, I let him hit into my block so I could get the extra power, so he could get the extra power, so my Doom cycle would actually work a little bit better, so I could get myself into a better position where I had my SP2 available once his second life started. Unfortunately, at this point, obviously he triggered the unstoppable. I was trying not to get him to gain any power. At this point, push to the SP3, throw it, and hopefully leave myself enough health on his life where I could cycle back to the SP2. Unfortunately, I pushed him too close, couldn't get back to my SP2, and then he no longer has the stagger up, so I'm in a little bit of trouble because I'm on my side of the map and kind of just trying to avoid taking any sort of additional hits. So I'm trying to either bait a heavy or trying to intercept him. Got really lucky with a heavy there, as he wouldn't have gone there. He wouldn't have been stunned. But now at this point, he throws the SP1. I'm just going to be kind of stuck in the corner constantly, just taking special after special after special. So fortunately, it got to the point where I was able to get an SP2 off, although it didn't kill him. And yeah, at that point, I thought I could intercept him, but I ran into an SP1. At least it allowed me to get some more power, and he didn't have very much health left, so I was able to escape this one without dying. So not the cleanest of fights I would have liked, but again, at the end of the day, a solo is a solo. So on this next fight with Claire, the idea is if she throws specials and bleeds, gets debuffs on me, then she'll be unblockable for the entire time. So they elected to use Thing in this particular fight. It's basically armor break immune and bleed immune, so I wouldn't get more than 3 or more debuffs on me. So I fast forwarded through this video as well, just to show my strategy was play it super safe, parry heavy, block the SP1, because every time you block the SP1 you get 3 additional Fury charges, and then if for whatever reason I pushed her to an SP2, I would bait that. So I was also being cautious because every time that happened, she would gain her charges. But I knew once she got to the 20 charges that she would no longer gain any power from Mystic Dispersion or any other means that way. So at this point, I know now the fight is under complete control as long as I don't do anything silly. So I was basically parry heavy, when my protection timer was available, I'd also have protection on, so I would not take as much damage at all either. But he's just an absolute tank in this situation. So was it the best strategy? Was it my best performance of a fight? No, probably not. And as I'd mentioned, this was, with the exception of Arena, the first time I have used him for attack in literally any content, because my roster allows me to have other champs that are more suited for the different fights if I needed to use a science for whatever reason. So overall, I was happy with the way this fight worked. Talking to the guys in my battle group, I didn't think there was any real risk of dying, assuming I played it safe and didn't get clipped by any SP2s or SP3s or change her into poison mode or anything like that. But as you can see, 50 hits in and she's basically dead. So fast forward, we had that on a faster timer just so we didn't have to sit through that pain of just parry heavy constantly. And then for this next fight, we're going to see Null. As you'll probably see in last season's Wars, I've taken Null in this path multiple times, usually with Mole Man. The funny thing is that in off season, I ended up testing Doom in this particular cycle. And when we did that, he did not go unblockable right away because I had the Mole Man synergy that had a 20% chance of shredding a debuff. So that caught me completely off guard when he kind of smacked into me for those, those combos, and it's just not an ideal situation. So fortunately, Doom is an absolute tank, as this is an R4 null, and if I had Mole Man even in for this fight, he probably would have been dead after those shots that I was taking. Fortunately, Adrenaline healed me up a bit, and then I was able to get to a Doom cycle, which, because Doom is just such a beast, if done properly, that there's no real risk after that, because he hits so hard. His defense is so good, and again, I was playing this like he's unblockable basically the whole fight, but overall not a super tough champ to fight against once he's unblockable. So with that ends my war, my 6-fight war. We ended up losing as a battle group, unfortunately. It wasn't our best start considering we'd posted a lot of very good scores last season. But we did end up pulling up the victory, which was huge for us because with the amount of R4s and prestige these guys have, it's just unbelievable. And we got lucky because they did not place 5 defenders. So we won on diversity points, seeing as we both died 9 times. So very lucky to pull that out. Very happy for that start of our season, because we usually start off very slow. And if this is like foreshadowing of things to come, we're in for a good season again. So thank you all for taking time to watch this video. I really enjoy making them, especially the thumbnails. I love trying to find creative ways to come up with ideas every war with different themes and whatnot. So I appreciate it. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.